we are in the express lane, working with the new widescreen format. Hope you like it. Definitely been an interesting journey on that piece, just trying to set up the camera, whatever. Focusing on doing what matters. Let's get into it. So, something that percolated, because today is an amazing day. Why is it an amazing day? Well, besides the fact that I woke up and I've got 2 feet above the ground or on the ground, it's definitely a good day. Remember that sense of gratitude we talked about in the earlier episode? If not, go find it. Regardless, it's a great day because today celebrates a historic event of one of the masters of wisdom. So remember, Total Living BSD being better, stronger, doing what matters. I'm not making my own stuff up. What I think is far more important, I think what you'll find more value in, is hearing directly from the source. Some of the things that I try to do, and I think the value that I do bring, is a field report, from 20 plus years of experience of applying these principles, these design principles, which I call illuminations. Point being is today is a phenomenal day, and it's not really important at this particular point to say who this master is. Feel free to reach out to me and ask the question on social, and I'll be glad to share that with you. But what is important, and an interesting story, interesting thing attributed to him, was that it says that he was so soaked, he was so given over to the concept of wisdom, of oneness, creating that oneness, of that, I guess for lack of a better term, enlightenment, but I think more accurately oneness, that if you would cut him, he wouldn't bleed. Or let me rephrase that. He wouldn't bleed blood, but rather he would bleed the waters of wisdom. So that was an interesting segment. And with that, I thought that would be a great segue to today's episode, which I'm going to call, What is Your Why? What is my why, for that matter? What is our why? And the reason I think it's so fundamental is, like I said, I love to use the commute as an opportunity to get really focused and get dialed in. There's so much going on. Life has become increasingly more complex on many different levels. Business and relationships and cultures, technology, whatever you have it. So to have this opportunity to put down the phone and instead use it as an opportunity to get focused, I think it's great. So it's a great time to be reflective about what is our why. And I'll share a personal story along those lines. So speaking of road race, many years ago, this is a little over 20 years ago. So a little over 20 years ago, was riding as a passenger, and we were driving, I don't know if you're familiar with the Honda CRX, the two-seater. It's a very small car, very popular, kind of a date check here in the 1980s, late 1980s. Anyways, I was a passenger, and in doing that, we were supposed to get off on an exit, and we did get off that exit until we realized as we're getting off on the exit that it was the wrong exit, and so the driver decided to whip back onto the freeway. Well, as they went back across the freeway, there was some sand there, I guess, on the road, because guess what? We started fishtailing like this. And that fishtail turned to a 360 spin. And I'm in the passenger seat, and as the car spins and we come to a halt, as that spin rounds itself out and we come to a halt, I look up and I see the letters M-A-C-K coming at me. For those of you who don't quite get what that means a Mack tractor trailer was heading right to my door. And I thought, this is it. And I balled up and was prepared for the impact, and boom! That's what happened. The side of the passenger side where I was sitting got hit, and I thought for sure I was going through the windshield, but I did have a seat belt. Anyways, amazingly, what felt like bumper cars, although it wasn't anything nearly as fun as that experience, obviously, after a few moments quieted down, And I realized that I was still alive. I wasn't sure if I was in one piece yet. I definitely wasn't through the windshield. My seatbelt held me tight. And things settled down, and I was able to climb out through the window, the passenger window, help my buddy out of the driver's seat, and then another tractor trailer piled into the first tractor trailer, which hit the car some more. It was a lively experience, let's just put it that way. Anyways, finally when the ambulance arrived, my friend was a little bit injured, was complaining of different issues, so they strapped him into the gurney and brought him into the ambulance. Meantime, I hopped into the front seat. So as I'm looking at the crumpled Honda CRX two-seater, I turned to the ambulance driver and said, tell me, in your experience as a paramedic, how often, and I had looked into the mirror as I checked myself over, I had a big bruise on my neck from the seat belt, not from the impact. And I asked the ambulance driver, I said, how often is it in this scenario with an 18-wheeler that you see someone get out with just a bruise on their neck? And he looked at me kind of deadpan and goes, slim to none. So needless to say, it was a very, very powerful moment. And life has a way, remember what I said about life has a way of checking our egos at the door, getting us that squeeze. So I remember calling into work that day and say, listen, I almost died today, and I think I'm going to take some time off and be a little bit reflective. And so that day wasn't a changing point in my life. It was definitely an inflection point in the journey. And there's some other interesting pieces if the road race opportunity seems right to share other inflection points. But it got me, what I'm trying to drive home here, pun intended, is the idea of, I got into why. Why am I alive? What am I doing? So I'd really like to use that as another example, with today being a historic event with one of the masters of wisdom who dedicated himself to living the why and creating that oneness for himself and for others, and sharing the story with you. I'd like to share that challenge with you and take a moment to be reflective today and ask yourself, why? Why am I here? Is it really only about my bank account? Is it really only about my toys or my, standard of living? All those things that we spend so much time on and effort and energy towards. And if I don't have a why, then that's definitely a flag to start thinking about getting a why. And if we do have a why, then how much of my day is aligned to living that why? So that being said, I think we'll pause here, especially as the commute is winding down and about to head into the day. And that's what I love about and what I'm striving for here with Total Living BSD, better, stronger, doing what matters, is the idea that to create that oneness, that our why should not just be an inflection point, but should be a pervasive, tangible reality, and that everything we do, whether at work or at play, in our relationships, should help holistically feel that pervasiveness and be representative of that oneness. So maybe that's a little bit deep, maybe it's a little bit abstract. I think the idea is still the same. What is your why? So reach out to me, please, on social, Twitter, Facebook, on my homepage, Total Living BSD, and share if you feel comfortable. Share and let's have a conversation on what is your why. Have an amazing day.